as was mentioned, you wove in so many different things in this one little village, the Americans, the Spanish, the Chinese. You also you were able to reference the South and African Americans, the West and Native Americans, what things were going on in Mexico, and it all happened in this little village. Earlier I saw a movie, Even the Rain, which in a different way wove in a lot of tapestry of imperialism. I was just wondering, what made you decide to tell it from the point of view of the Filipino regular guy? Since we rarely, normally it would be the sympathetic American guy who lets them have the party. It would be him, and we're looking out. Instead, we just start out with, Joe Filipino.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly why I chose it, because he's in the center of something. And if you think of most war movies, 90 or more % of them are really pep rallies for the audience who are rooting for one side. And the people on the other side are as, unrecognizably human as you can make them. You think of, the movies made during World War II, the Japanese or the Nazis would be arch villains to this day. When we, do those things, we're always trying to have the bad guys be as unhuman as possible. And certainly if you're underarms, if you're shooting and get shot at, the last thing you want to be thinking about is complexity and the humanity of the person that you're fighting with. So one thing is that all I can do with a 2-hour movie and a low budget is a snapshot. And I'm trying to get as much information in the snapshot as I can without stopping the story, the human story, to explain anything. So you get a little taste of things. You get a little taste of, the Spanish were here before, they're leaving. There's this layover of, the people seem to still be religious. They seem to still be Catholic, but they don't particularly like this Spanish priest. You just get a taste of that. I think the choice that I made at the beginning of this is going to be a movie where the audience spends equal time with both camps. And it's the advantage the audience has, which is you don't just get to hang with one side and not know much about the other and cheer when they get shot off the horse. You have to spend time in both camps, and therefore you see the humanity of both camps, including their prejudices. I mean, even the Chinese think everybody who's not Chinese is fucked up. They're saying derogatory things about the white people, about the Filipinos, and whatever. So you get to see their blind spots. But you have this advantage, which is you can read the subtitles, and you basically can understand even more than the Spanish priest does, who's blinded by his own prejudices and his own agenda. So for the audience, what I wanted was that you're slightly up on a hill watching a train wreck, and you like people in both trains, but you can't stop them from running into each other. These are guys who they don't know. As one of them says, I came over here to kill Spaniards. Who did the bait and switch? Why are we killing Filipinos in the Philippines to take their liberty away? That's not what I signed up to do. But here I'm a soldier. I obey orders. And then the minute your friends start to get killed by the enemy, they really are the enemy. So they get stuck in this little backwater. The war seems to pass them by. And what usually happens, you get fraternization. People start to recognize each other, that give each other nicknames, guess what the other one is saying, actually understand some things. So the other side starts to get human. And then the problem is the war isn't necessarily over, and it may sweep back and pull you into it again. And then, all that humanity has to go by the wayside. So I usually have a graphic idea of what a movie is. Some movies are gunfight kind of movies where, it's like two lines that are about to come together, and there's escalating, confrontations that lead to the big gunfight. Mate One is kind of like that. What I wanted in this movie is my graphic was actually a circle, and with that character in the middle, and his brother on one side, and who runs the insurrectos, the guerrillas, and the colonel on the other, And then there's the villagers who he has to worry about, and it literally is a circular village. But also, eventually there are these people who are garrisoned in his village, and they start to come closer, including the lieutenant, who actually kind of almost gets to know him, despite the fact that they don't speak the same language. And so the sides get confused, and which is something that also happens in a guerrilla war. This is a snapshot from 1900. A year earlier, it would have been, here's the Americans, here's the Filipinos. The Filipinos are going to charge. They don't have, artillery. They're going to get shot to hell. So in the second year of the war, they went to a guerrilla war where you have to ask the question, and it's the reason the movie is called Amigo, who are the good amigos and who are the bad amigos? In this pidgin language they built up with each other, that was one of the common words they had, even though it wasn't either English or Tagalog. And you read over and over and over in the letters home, either, because they would call them Indians, niggers, goo-goos, whatever. The nicest thing they ever called Filipinos, the Americans, was amigos, but there were good amigos and bad amigos. Yes.